Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Hanging out with you also on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/live now. DT inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You know how we do it up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, having some fun per always and staying warm thanks to Cafe Kubal and all of those favorites that they have. They have hot or iced, and you can get some iced coffee if you need to, but I'm getting all the hot stuff. The pumpkin spice chai. I'm warming myself up today on a very wintry day that we have up here in Syracuse, New York. It's going to be snowing. I checked the forecast, and from what I can see, it's going to snow on Christmas, and that's always something that I want to see. So very excited about that and the opportunity. In the meantime, everybody stay warm and stay safe. Hopefully you got your Christmas tree. I got mine, and it is up. It is decorated. It is beautiful. C'est magnifique. So make sure that if you didn't get yours, it's time to do it today. Get your food. Do what you got to do. And, thanks to all the crazy people out there, make sure you get your toilet paper because, there's some wild ones out there that must be eating the toilet paper, I don't know if they're putting hot sauce on it, what they're doing with this toilet paper, but they're definitely got more than enough of it for about 10 to 15 years. So make sure you go out there and do what you got to do at the grocery store and stay safe. And obviously, give yourself a little bit more time. And yes, I'm saying that to myself. Give yourself a little more time when you travel because you don't know what to expect with the roads when we get around wintertime. So just as always, be careful. But we know that could be icy out there, so just be smart and be careful. A lot of great show coming up today inside of the Cafe Kubal studios with 4 locations and one on its way. 3501 James Street in Syracuse, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, 324 West Water Street, Syracuse, and 208 North Townsend Street, Syracuse, with one coming in Manly as Cafe Kubal here for you and with you with the mobile cafe that will come to your place of business as well as your neighborhood. And, of course, the local delivery that will come straight to your doorstep with no delivery charge for those of you living in Onondaga County. We are here inside of those studios having some fun. A Thursday jam-packed with goodness. We have first and foremost inside of MonPazPopcorn.com is what's popping. Papa Joe going to be joining the show. He does it every Thursday. He's got the first hour and a little bit of change. PJ and I always having a good time. He'll be joining us in just a second. Then you will see and hear my Q&As with Dino Babers on National Signing Day, Jim Boeheim on Marek Dolezaj squeaking a win out against Northeastern 62-56 in the added game to the schedule that I was at. Joe Girard III speaking on Kadari Richmond, and Quincy Guerrier speaking on playing off of Marek and Marek playing off of him as this team is finding a way to get things done. Syracuse so far has only lost one game this season. That game was on the road at Rutgers in the ACC Big Ten Challenge where they lost by 10. Gene Waldron on the show this morning, Syracuse Orange alum, listening in and watching. What's up, Gene? I hope you're doing well. Getting your steps in, getting your walk in, and enjoying where Gene Waldron lives. No matter how much snow I get, it always looks like he got a foot more than I did, and it looks immaculate. It's perfectly beautiful. I mean, if anybody wants to get their letter to Santa Claus a little bit quicker, just get it over to Gene because I'm confident that he's very close to the North Pole when I see the pictures that he posts. So with all that being said, great guests coming up today. We have a fantastic show, and you need to stay close to Wake Up Call on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT, because I will be continuing to release my National Signing Day specials spotlighting numerous athletes from this incoming class. The opportunity that I have had to speak with these gentlemen has been fantastic, and I am so honored and privileged. And you're going to get to hear one-on-one sit-down conversations with these guys. I'm not saying nobody else has talked to them, but nobody is going to give you what we're giving you here on Wake Up Call. They are extended conversations with these players. They go far beyond asking them a couple of questions about how it feels to sign. There's so much more in these, and these will be released to you throughout the day. There's already some that have been released with Enrique A. Cruz Jr., as well as Justin Lamson and Deuce Chestnut, all signing with Syracuse. So, a lot of stuff, all good. Christmas come early. PJ's on the phone, so let's get him in here. Papa Joe, how we doing?
Good morning, Daniel. Everything's fine down here. It's a little cool, but we expect it this time of year.
PJ,
It's not going to be around today, something like that.
PJ, you can't see it, but I'm going to show people here in the studio. I am eating Christmas cookies for breakfast because my mom got my recipes out from my grandmother, and we last weekend, last Saturday, made Christmas cookies together. Made the chocolate loaf and chocolate balls, cutouts. Our friend Amy made rigot cookies, and so we got a little bit of everything, and that is what I'm eating this morning. I'm eating Christmas cookies.
Oh, geez, I feel for you now. I feel for you. I wish you had them. I remember Aunt Riri's little chocolate cookies for years. That's one of the best times is coming over to her house and picking out on cookies.
Yeah, so I'm eating some for the both of us this morning as we talk in the studio. Christmas come early. We are, what is today's the 17th. We're 8 days. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are officially 8 days from Christmas right now, which is pretty cool. My favorite holiday. So very excited for that. What are you doing to celebrate the Christmas season down there? I know that you guys get a tree, and I know that the street that you live on, you would think that it's Central New York, the amount of lights and stuff that people put up. So what's Christmas looking like down in Florida?
Well, we're not doing much outside or anything, Daniel. I don't have the strength and the energy to do it anymore, and Joe's schedule is so hard that I don't expect him to do anything with me either. And MT's got to do her things. I don't want to rely her out to do those things out there. So we're just being a bare bones sort of like. And Mary's baking some fudge, and she's baking some cookies. And this is a difficult time for us this year, mainly because of how poorly I've been feeling. And to offset that, we have this young lady is in Joe's life. She seems to be quite special to him, and he's very much smitten by her. So we'll see what that brings over the holidays. I've been praying for Joe for years to find the right mate. Sure as hell wasn't his last wife, that's for sure. So we'll stay together as a family. We won't do any traveling or anything. Joe will spend time with us or spend time with his lady friend who's got a 3-year-old girl. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, and the reality of it all, and I like how you and I have very honest, conversation per always, and in comedy. When you said, it definitely wasn't the first one. Ditto on my side, PJ. So, ditto on my side. Yeah. So you kind of live and learn, and we're a resilient bunch. This Tortora Cavino family, Lando family, we're a very resilient bunch. So I know that we will enjoy our Christmas and have a great time. You and I have so many things to get into, and the topics are endless. They're all college football related. They're exciting. My conversations with you are awesome, and I know that we've dedicated the last couple of years to having you here on the show. And the fact that people that tune in now, write into me and say, can't wait for Papa Joe, or we love Papa Joe, or when's Papa Joe going to put in that Jameis Winston zinger and whatnot. So it means the world to me that something that I did because, personally I wanted to, is now meaning something to the people that are listening and watching. So, to the people that have heard Papa Joe and appreciate it, thank you. To the people that haven't heard from PJ, and this is your first time, then I appreciate it too. And we would like to wish a happy 106th birthday to Aunt Dorothy in heaven as well. So, what did you say?
I said that was her birthday's coming up. That's right.
Yeah, so 106. She would have been 106. My grandmother would have been 104.
Yep.
And they're up in heaven raising it up. They're up there with Aunt Meg as well. If I know anything about Aunt Dorothy and G-Mama, is that they're both dancing, and they're doing that very interesting dance. PJ, I got to tell you this before we get into college football. And to the people that believe in this stuff, great. To the people that don't, I still very much so believe in what happened to me. So I'm with my mom, and we're putting the tree together and doing all this stuff. And as we're putting the tree together, it was my grandmother's birthday. So it was December 15th. She would have been 104. So we start talking about G-Mama, and all of my lights on in my house, they're like LEDs. All of the lights in my family room, I call it the conversation room because there's no TV. All of the lights in my conversation room where the Christmas tree is are on. They're all on the same track. So, like, when they turn on together. They turn off together. And the one by the door started flickering when we talked about my grandmother. And the more we talked about G-Mama, it flickered. And then I looked at it and I said, G-Mama, are you here? And it clicked twice. And I asked it again, and it clicked again. And then I said to Lily, my dog, I said, is G-Mama here? And she barked. And I said, was she here? And she barked again. I said, where was she? She got off the couch and stood under the light that was clicking.
Oh my gosh, how freaky that is.
So, yeah, and she also was looking up the stairs too, and my mom caught her looking up the stairs. So G-Mama came to visit a couple days ago on her birthday, and I thought that was pretty sweet. And I know that those to the people out there, especially around the holidays where it gets hard, if you believe that they're not with us and there isn't anything after this, I disagree. And I think I got I didn't need the proof, but I definitely got a little visit from G-Mama this week.
Good story. Yep, the girls are always around. I feel Dorothy all the time because when I go in her room, it smells like her, it looks like her. She's got her little dolls everywhere. Mary's got the room fixed up so cute with her parents on one side of the bed and Dorothy's on the other side of the bed with Joe, and they sort of guard the room. It's really those ladies are something special.
Yeah, there's something awesome about having a great family coming from good people, and PJ is the best of them. So we know that. I know that on and off the air very much so, and Miss Mary T, and shout her out. So if you like Papa Joe and you like what he's all about, you can thank Miss Mary T because she feeds him well and she keeps him healthy, and she's a fantastic part of a very warm household that I miss incredibly, and I look forward to getting back down to. So a shout out to the family and to little Joey as well, JP the third. So a lot of love going down there to Florida, to Aunt Jeannie and to everyone, and to the whole family. So with that being said, from the Sunshine State, we're having a conversation, typically talk about the Jaguars, the NFL, and college football. A lot of good stuff coming up, and college football is the conversation of the day today, PJ, and National Signing Day. We know it, we did know it, to be the first Wednesday in February, and now we, for the last few seasons, have had this extra date of right before Christmas, the Wednesday before we have Christmas, and here in December, the early signing day, which has become National Signing Day. Now they're both National Signing Days. What are your thoughts? Because we got a lot of stuff to talk about and kind of break it down, but let's just start with National Signing Day itself. I know that I love it and I get excited about it when it comes to college football and whatnot. So bring me into National Signing Day and what it means to you, because off the air before when we were talking, you were stating just how much you love National Signing Day.
Oh, I think it's great. I love to see the excitement in the kids' eyes. I like to see the families fluster about them when they get ready to sign their life away for Florida. But it's a real special time of the year for football players, and I'm so glad that they changed it around. I know that the early signing period didn't go over well with a lot of people, but I tell you, when you're a big-time football coach, especially down here, you got to tie these guys up in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I think the NCAA was sort of looking at the AC or the SEC. They just beat the hell out of each other every year to get these kids, and the sooner the better. And I'm very happy that Florida's got their signing class just about completed, except for three guys I think probably still need to qualify scholastically. But it's fun. It's fun to see the kids. Some of the kids want to go transcontinental. Some kids want to stay in the region. Some kids want to stay home. You know, and I've stated before on this show, and your readers certainly, your listeners will certainly understand where I come from, is that there's so many kids down here. And I know I'm speeding at the dead horse to everyone out there, but you don't know how it is down here. There are so many athletes in this state, and they're all ripe for the picking. And you got the Nick Sabans, and you got the Dabo Sweeneys, and you got Nick Mullins out there, and these guys throw everything at these kids but the kitchen sink to get them to sign in or to buy in, you know.
Yeah.
And if you have a good program and you're a successful program, if you're an offensive line coach like Mullins, well, you know, he signed a couple of 4-star quarterbacks this year. Going to keep that line going right on. The defense is going to be shored up a lot this year. I know Coach Grantham is not in the best of moods these days, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't happy with Coach Grantham, but I know he's doing the best he can, and he's got the athletes. He just has to put together a plan here that's going to work. I mean, he just can't over pursue these guys and have to come back to see if he can make a play. That's not going to work it. And if anything, if Grantham has to do anything, he's got to get a hold of Mac Jones and keep him under the cuffs. And of course, they're saying the same thing about Kyle Trask for Florida. Be a hell of a game, but you know, Florida lost their composure last week, and they lost their championship. Daniel, they lost their championship. Got beat by a mediocre LSU team, and even though even though it's the SEC, I'll tell you, LSU did not look like a 3-6 team or a 3-5 team.
Yeah.
They're all of these teams are ranked in the top 10 for a reason. When it comes to players, I don't agree with the point system, you know that. But, the kids like it, and they say, well, I'm a 5-star, I'm a 4-star, whatever,
Yeah.
But these kids know exactly how they rank and where they're supposed to go. And they make it fun. They make it fun. Make the whole process, they make it fun. And then once they start to get on campus, then they start to get into things. A lot of kids are already in school now. But I'm concerned about some of the kids, nationally, of course, that won't be able to sign today. Maybe because their parents are not quite right to talk about where they want to go yet. And I've stated earlier that the grades have got to come up. I mean, even though you get a scholarship at the University of Florida or Alabama or Syracuse, you still got to complete the academic requirements for you to go to school there. Now, if you come in with a sub 2.0 average, you ain't going to make it. And I know there's a lot of players out there that have 2.0 averages or a little bit above that are trying to scholastically keep their head above water and play football in these mighty conferences. So, with that being said, it's a long road to hoe. It's a difficult process. Coach Mullen has dozens of people that work on this staff.
Yeah.
They reach out everywhere. He's got tentacles everywhere, and especially in Alabama, Louisiana, and Georgia, and South Carolina, and Florida. I know I emphasize it too much sometimes, but when you see as many kids as there are playing football down here that are that good, then the Florida schools have nothing to bitch about, Daniel.
Yeah.
If they can't fill their roster with good players from this state that are better than players in other states, it's their own fault.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you're in the state of Florida, you're in the hotbed, you're where everybody goes. It's California will go there, Texas will go there, New York will go there, Massachusetts will go there. South Carolina, North Carolina, Oklahoma. I mean, there's talent all around the country, but everybody looks at Florida. They do. It's just reality. And Florida has FIU and FAU and UCF and USF and Miami and Florida State and Florida. There's so many good teams down there that are already trying to get those players to stay. And then on top of all of that, there's schools trying to reach down and get after it. Now, Dino had been focusing on Florida a lot, and he had been trying to get Florida players. This time around, he changed it up a little bit. And I think that the Florida players are fantastic, obviously. But what I'm happy about is the fact that, it looked like Dino kind of looked around the country to other places. He went after people in the state of New York, got a couple there to sign. He's got another one that they're hoping signs in Jalen Moss. And then we look at, the fact that he got a couple from Pennsylvania. Only got one from Florida this time. And normally Florida's at the top of the list, but this year Syracuse only got one player from Florida. I got a wide receiver, Arande Gadsden, the second from American Heritage in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So, Syracuse now trying to hopefully recruit all around, find what they need to find. They went after 5 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, 5 receivers in this class, a quarterback. They return Tommy DeVito. They return Dylan Markowitz. They return Jacobian Morgan. And now they have Justin Lamson coming in from California. Josh Huff is their running back that's supposed to be the big old burly back that Dino will talk about later in the show in my Q&A with him that he's been looking for. They got a couple linebackers, couple defensive backs. But the offensive line was the part that they assessed the most. I know we'll talk about Florida here in a second, but from orange and blue to orange and blue, Syracuse going after 5 offensive linemen. Their offensive line was worst in the country at a point not this season, but last season. Their offensive line was one of the worst in the country, if not the worst in the country at times, in sacks allowed. This season, they were back worst in the country in sacks allowed. So there's no surprise that they went after linemen more than anything else. What are your thoughts on that? The fact that Syracuse at least is trying to assess their offensive line in this recruiting and going after 5 offensive linemen. They went after Austin Cowhey from Hawaii. They went after Wes Ho from Illinois, Tyler Magnuson from Minnesota, and then they also went for Enrique A. Cruz Jr., who is coming from Illinois, and another player from Hawaii as they went after Kalen Ellis. I've spoken with all these guys. And so you got a couple Hawaii guys, and then you got the Midwest. What do you think about Syracuse assessing the offensive line?
I think that's great. They actually recruit Hawaii.
Well, Dino has a connection to Hawaii, and then Coach Kavanaugh, the offensive line coach, he used to coach out there. So there's always been that. Dino always talks about Ohana, about family, and now they started recruiting out there, and I know that there's a lot of talent from Hawaii, being an offensive lineman, a quarterback, or whatever, because I cover Navy and I cover UCF, and obviously Ken Niumatalolo of Navy is consistently going back to his home island and looking for players. We know that the Pac-12 does it. We know that UCF did it with Mackenzie Milton and whatnot, and they've done it with other players. So it's just they actually have somebody from the same school as Austin Cowhey that's at UCF. So I know there's talent in Hawaii, and Dino decided to go out there and utilize his connection and Coach Kavanaugh's connection to the island, and it worked out this time.
Are you saying that Dino's still going to have a job?
As of right now, he is the coach, and it's been said repeatedly by John Wildcat, the athletics director, that he is not looking to replace Dino for 2021, nor is he looking to replace him potentially beyond that. So Dino is up here at least for 2021.
Well, I mean, that's a nice show of confidence, but he sure as hell better win. I don't, you can be buddies only for so long, but if you don't produce for them, you ain't my buddy anymore. You're going to go somewhere else. So it's unfortunate that he didn't have a good record. He hasn't had a good record in a couple of years. So, but he's got his own problems there, and let him deal with it, and he will. And I know you'll keep up with the recruiting. And if he can put together a good team again, they'll be competitive. They may not be 9-2 material or 8-3 material, but they'll be maybe 6-5 or 5-6 or something like that. But I'd like to see him at least score some points. Couldn't do something. My goodness. I want to be able to. When I turn on Syracuse, I want to be able to remember what you and I talk about all the time, and I want to remember the kids that you talk about because I'm not familiar with them. So I try to listen and I try to pay attention to the kids that are supposed to be the up-and-comers. And, it's just not watching Syracuse is not very fun right now. And I I'm not going to watch Syracuse get beat 56-3. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I'm not a fair weather friend. That's not me. But I do want to see them competitive on the field, and I want to be able to see them get something. I want to attain something. Do something right for the team, for the players. Get a good win every once in a while. Beat Clemson every once in a while. What the hell? I mean, gee, just because Clemson is Clemson, you still got to play them. You played them tough a couple of years ago. It turned out to be well. So I love this part of the season, and I'm very thankful that the NCAA is now allowing these kids to sign early, because some of these kids will go right to school in January. They've already graduated, and they'll be on their way, and they'll have to gobble up the playbook in a heartbeat. So I look for all the schools to do well. Of course, I watch the South a lot, because those are all the teams that I watch and teams that I look for. So, but Daniel, if you look at the top 10 stands, if you look at the top 10 teams,
right,
they don't change. They don't change. It's Alabama, it's Ohio State, it's Clemson, it's LSU, it's Florida, it's It's the same teams that are signing these kids. Now, I tell you, just right up until last night, I can tell you that there was some serious there's some serious ongoing negotiations with a couple of Florida players that Nick Saban was trying to steal. And that guy, he's like a bulldog, man. He does not want to see any kid get loose from him. And if he wants to recruit in Florida, damn it, he's Nick Saban, and he wants you to come to Florida or come to Alabama. And I was praying last night that these couple of kids, they're 5-star athletes, that stay with your pick and just ignore Nick Saban, and we'll be on the field. But that's how things happen with football like this, especially the big conferences. You got all these teams, all the teams that are listed in the top 25 and the top 10. We see them every year. The Oklahomas, the LSU. Nothing changes. Texas A&M now is back up there. USC's coming through. So with these teams loading up, you got to consider that the other teams have at least got to try to stay up with them. I mean, maybe they won't get all the 4 stars, and certainly no 5 stars, but they can have some 3 stars and build a good team. I've always commended Coach Babers, and you've heard me say this on many occasions, that Coach Babers, I think, does the most with 3-star athletes than anyone in the country. So if he's got 25 kids that are all 3-stars, hey, that's fine with him. Make them competitive, put them in your system, and see if it works. I just love this time of the year, Daniel.
Yeah, and it's incredible as I eat Christmas cookies here in the studio. But it's incredible to be a part of this time of year. It's Christmas come early. You said the classes, the ranking of the classes, top 10 in recruiting in the nation for 2021. Like you said, a lot of usual suspects. Alabama for the incoming 2021 class is number 1. Ohio State 2, LSU 3, Georgia 4, Clemson 5, Oregon 6, Oklahoma 7, Florida is 8th, 9th is Notre Dame, 10th is Michigan. Michigan bringing in a quarterback, J.J. McCarthy from IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida, that Bobby Acosta is down there coaching. Bobby was just on the show, and he spoke to me about J.J. So, J.J. McCarthy doing that. I also want to make note of the fact that some of the guys that I've been able to link up with here on the show are on the list of like the top ones to look at, the buzz around these guys for Michigan. Dominic Giudice, he is up on here. A nice Italian guy, Anthony, his brother played at Syracuse. He, has been on the show, and so that's really cool to see him on this list for Michigan. And Keyshawn Bennett, who I also spoke with. So a lot of good stuff coming out here, seeing these guys, whether they come to Syracuse or not, just seeing their names come across, my computer screen and being really excited for all of them, and what Syracuse was able to bring in, and then what my other guys around the country, whether they came to Syracuse or not, what they're up to. Christmas come early. the early signing period versus the regular signing period, PJ, before we take a step aside for a fast break, do you like that there's now 2 national signing days? Do you think December's the better day? What did it do to February by adding December? Kind of what your overall thoughts are, because February used to be the day, and now it feels like December's the day, and then February's that extra day. I know what I think about it, so I don't want to load the question and tell you that while I'm asking you. So just from your point of view, having 2 national signing days instead of 1 and adding December in before February, what do you like about it, not like about it, and what did it do to February signing day to now have December?
I love it. I love it. I'm glad the NCAA came up with it. It gives these kids a chance. If they're good students, a lot of these kids are pushing through now. They're high school. A lot of kids are finishing school in December, and they got their degree, and they don't want to have to wait around till February to say where they're going to school, and then they're going to be out. You know, they're not going to be out there with their teammates. So, if you're a good athlete and you've got a good record, and you have a good grade point average, and you've passed all the tests, and you can come into these big schools and play early, I think it's an advantage. Huge. And you know, let's face it, the NCAA still has a problem with eligibility for these kids. I'm not going to be critical of any schools or anything, but I'm going to say that they don't play fair at a lot of these schools, and you know it as well as I do.
Yeah.
And if you got a 2.0 average, you ain't going to Wisconsin, or you ain't going to Syracuse for sure. That's a private school. You may be able to go to Syracuse with a 2.0, I'm not sure. But, you know, you're not going to be able to go to Alabama or Clemson or any other places, you know. So, to me, the back up to the February signing is that these kids still can make it right. They can still qualify academically. They can take some extra courses to pull their grade point average up. I know that all these kids that are not signing early is because they can't qualify. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm sure it's mostly that. So it gives these kids a chance to brush up on their schoolwork, maybe take another final exam to get a better grade and pull your average up. So it's a difficult time. I feel for the kids, especially for the kids that are absolutely superb athletes and can't add 1 and 1. Now, I feel for a kid like that. I mean, he's got nothing going for him except he's an athlete. But you know what? If he goes to one of these JUCOs, or he goes to a Power 5 school with less requirements than the bigger schools, he can slip in there. I could never understand why the kids in Florida would want to go to Iowa or Minnesota or even Michigan or in Syracuse. You know, I mean, why would you want to leave the climate that you're doing well in, that you're acclaimed in, and you want to stay local for your parents? You know, why would you even consider going to some of these other schools? I don't know. It's just food for thought. I mean, I really worry about the qualifications of the kids. That's all. And I know that some of these kids that go to some of these other schools in the central part of the country is just that they didn't qualify for the big schools. So
yeah.
Well, let's hope that I'm not wrong about it, but I may not be totally right.
You know, and the reality, I mean, the reality of it all is having this moment, and for me, you know, having the 2 national signing days is that it helps the team get peace of mind before the holiday. It actually helps you to enjoy the holiday. I would venture to say more, because before Christmas and, you know, around Hanukkah time, you got things done. So I think it gives peace of mind and maybe a breath of relief, a breath of fresh air to the coaches out there, to the schools and the fan bases. And then what I think it also does is it makes February's National Signing Day a take 2. And what I mean by that is you shore up what you can in December, and then let's say you got 22 spots and you got 15 that sign in December, so you got 7 left, and you lose a couple guys. Well, that gives you a couple months to figure out what you need, go to the transfer portal, see what's in there, the guys that have experience, see what other recruits are still out there, maybe call up some, you know, relationships that maybe you didn't foster enough. But it gives you a chance to essentially have a backup plan. And this year, more than ever, with the transfer portal, and it's a free year and anybody can transfer, don't have to sit out and all that good stuff. If you're going to lose players within the next couple months, like you could lose players today after National Signing Day in December, and then say, okay, well, we didn't recruit more than one linebacker that signed, and we just had 2 guys under the transfer portal, so now we need 2 other linebackers. So now you got 2 months to do it. So now National Signing Day, especially this time around, because of the transfer portal and the free year in college football free agency, essentially, it gives coaches an opportunity this year to use the February signing day as your backup plan when you find out the more players that leave, and then you can assess that and then go after it in February. So I do think that February does have a very important piece, especially this year.
That's true. That's very true. It also gives Nick Saban and Coach O and a bunch of these guys out there an extra couple of months to go after some of these players that aren't really signed yet.
Yeah.
And that's where they start. That's where they start playing below the belt. That's when they really start playing below the belt. Well, it's a good time of the year. It's a wonderful time of the year. It's Christmas for us. We're very happy, and we want everyone else to be happy. Our family, our friends, and we just want the best for everyone.
And that is very true and extremely important. That coming from Papa Joe here. And just so you know, PJ, Binghamton is trending on Twitter right now for the amount of snow that they're getting, and they're only an hour away. So I'm hiding up here in Syracuse. I'm hoping that Frosty doesn't see my house right now. But like, Frosty, don't be blowing stuff over here. Papa needs to go out and pay some bills and do some things. Let me do what I got to do. But it's a little bit crazy, and that's all right. But yeah, so please be safe out there, folks. As Binghamton, New York is trending on Twitter, please make sure that you are safe out there in upstate New York and beyond. Papa Joe and I are going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we have plenty more to talk about. We've covered National Signing Day, having 2 signing days as a February signing day. Hold some weight now. We talked a little bit about college free agency. There's more coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with the infinite and famous and devoutly religious and faithful, funny and kind, and the biggest fan in the nation, nay, I say it, the world, of Jameis Winston. Papa Joe will be coming up back after this break. We'll be talking about more right after this, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So stay tuned right here to Wake Up Call. And we got more to say right after this here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We appreciate you being here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, hanging out with the man they call PJ Papa Joe here with us inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Folks, Cafe Kubal keeps you warm, especially now more than ever. Go out there and get a cup of coffee and support local. We are all about the local here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And even those companies that have the national and international names, very local and proud supporters of our community, and that's why I proudly support them. The Honda Cities, the Chick-fil-A Ciceros, as well as the Carvel DeWitts of the world, Cafe Kubal, Wildcat Sports Pub, Avicoli's Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chapper's Pizza Pub, the Millhouse Market, and Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. And Papa Joe and Mary can't see this shirt right now, but I'm gonna show you the shirt on Facebook Live. It is a fantastic shirt. I'll describe it to you. It's from Canine Camp Dog Daycare, and you can get your shirt by going to their location on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse. You can also call 315-437-7110 to buy your shirt over the phone, and they'll have it ready for you. That's 315-437-7110. They made these awesome COVID-19 shirts. It's a dog peeing on the virus. And so you see the dog lifting their leg on COVID-19, and it says, lift your leg on the virus, with an angry dog peeing on COVID-19. So the proceeds go to a good cause, and who doesn't want to pee on the virus at this point and get rid of it? So I love it. I think it's great. And Canine Camp Dog Daycare just coming up with another idea to, be positive in this time, be funny, lighten up people's spirits, and of course utilize this apparel to give back to those that are protecting our animals and keeping our animals, like the CNYSPCA and Helping Hounds and all of the great places here in central and upstate New York that I appreciate so much as a dog lover and just a lover of humanity and the animal world and all living things. So thank you to Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding for all that they do. PJ, are you ready to lift your leg on the virus?
Yes.
So we're here today speaking on a lot of different things in the college football world. We have spoken on National Signing Day, having two of them, February signing day and its value right now. PJ, I brought it up, college football free agency. What do you think about it? The fact that any player can go from any team and bounce around as much as they want to doesn't really matter. There are no rules right now. So you essentially can be at a school, decide you don't want to be there anymore, jump in the transfer portal, and you're off on your way. Wherever you go to, you don't have to sit out a year. It is essentially college football free agency for the first time ever. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that I don't think it's strict free agency. I mean, there are some ramifications of it. I don't know if that's the case totally. I don't like it, of course. I mean, I want these young men to stand by their word, stand by their signature, and say, I want to go to this school because they offered me a scholarship, and this is where I'm staying. And if I don't play all that much, then I don't play all that much. There's a good story down here with a young man in Georgia, South Georgia. His name is Chief Borders, like the Indian chief, Chief Borders.
Yeah.
And the guy is a tackling machine. Unbelievable. He's led the state in tackles the last 2 years. He's amazing. And anyway, he wants to become a doctor. And the more I read about him, the more I says, well, this kid is really something special. And he's been recruited by all the top schools in the country. He's got the grades to go everywhere. So what happens here in the last week of the signing here is that Florida had the end to this guy. And one of the preeminent schools in the country, Stanford, was the other one that were vying for this young man. Now we know if you go to Stanford, you got to have a grade point average of 9.5 or something like that just to get in the. And if you go to Stanford, you're going to be playing football. You're going to be playing for a great coach, David Shaw, and you're going to get a hell of an education. And I thought about that, and then he said, "But I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay locally. I'm going to stay. I'm going to play for the University of Florida. Their schools are just as good to me here if I stay here as I go out instead of going out west." So these are good stories that I love to hear from these kids. Just love it.
And it is. I mean, it's awesome to. And the thing is, at the end of the day, I think you should go where you're happy and where you think you're going to be happy. You could go to a school and the coach could leave you there and go off somewhere else. And that's one of the things that always comes up is, why are coaches allowed to not keep their word, but us kids have to do that and this, that, and whatever. So I do understand that side. The thing that gets dicey, though, see, there's two sides to the coin because you can abuse anything. Anything created in the world can be used positively or negatively. And I tell people all the time, if you don't believe me, whittle it all the way down to a toothpick. A toothpick was created to pick up food, to use hors d'oeuvres, to get something out of your teeth, but you can also poke somebody's eye out with it. So the reality of it all is the transfer portal can be a great place for kids that were lied to, cheated, stolen from. Coaches that left them high and dry after promising them the world and then going off to another school. So yes, for that, I love it. But where I don't like it is when there's a situation like some of the ones that we've seen out there, or that at least appear this way out there. And that is the reality that some of the kids are fighting to be a quarterback at a school, and they find out another quarterback's transferring in. What do? Well, I'm going to leave because I don't want to be here because it's my job and and acting like a little baby, like a little child. They don't want to compete for the job. They want the job to be theirs. So then they go to another school where they could be the starter. And so, that's the part that I don't like. Well, coach isn't giving, there's a difference between coach isn't giving me enough playing time, because I've been there, and, I don't want to compete for the job. I don't want to work for it. It should just be given to me. So I'm going to keep going to schools, bouncing around the country until somebody just gives me a job that I don't really have to work that hard for, or that I don't have any competition for. So there's a double-edged sword of this. Kids that get screwed over by coaches, yeah, you should be able to transfer without having to sit out a year. But the other side of it is the kids that go to a school and they don't want to compete for the job and they don't want to be patient, because people struggle being patient now. And so, PJ, there's two sides to this thing, and there's that really good side where a kid gets an opportunity to get out of a situation where he was promised things and lied to. But then there's also the other side of it that I just mentioned, where a kid could definitely use this as kind of, being a baby to the situation and not wanting to work for their job, not wanting to have to go out there and do what they need to do and expecting things to be handed to them.
Well, the pressure on these kids to respond to a high-pressure salesman like Nick Saban, I can't imagine sitting at the kitchen table, sitting across from Nick Saban, and him telling his mama and daddy and his grandma and grandpa and everything like that, we want you to come to Alabama for 3 reasons. Number 1, you're going to get a good education. Number 2, you're going to be in the top physical condition of your life. And number 3, if you're really good, there's a chance you can extend your career with the pros. That's all. But he does it in such a way that the whole family just dives in with Nick Saban, and that's the way he is. Nick Saban doesn't like stop in front of the microphones and talk. He doesn't like to give brilliant speeches and stuff like that. That's not him. He's a grumpy kind of a guy. He's from the Bill Belichick school of grumpiness there. He's good at what he does. and Dabo Sweeney's another guy. But if you can guarantee those kids the playing time and the education and the possibility of playing somewhere else at the end of their tenure, that should be all for these kids. They shouldn't have to be bouncing around for that.
No, and it is. And by the way, Nick Saban can also say a fourth thing, that for every season that you're with my team for the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to vie for a national championship, and we're going to win at least one of them within the time that you're here.
Who said that?
And I said that's what Nick Saban can say. So the reality of the fact that there are very few coaches in America that can look you in the eye and say, if you come to my school, there is a better than 50% chance that within the next 3 to 5 years we will vie for a national championship, and more than likely, we're going to win a national championship while you're here. How many coaches in America can look a kid in the eye, a high school kid, a prep kid in the eye, and say, every year, every recruiting class for the last how many years with Nick Saban in Alabama, that while you're here at Alabama, there's a good chance that you're going to have an opportunity to win a national championship? Like, every 3 to 5 years, we're going, think about that. All the classes that he recruits, for the most part, in recent history, have vied for one or won a national championship. So if he recruits you right now in 2021, he can look you in the eye with confidence and say, there's a good chance you're going to win a championship. Then with the 2022 class, there's a good chance you're going to win a championship. 2023, there's a good chance you're going to win a championship. He's one of the only coaches in America that can tell kids, if you come to my school, every 3 to 5 years, we're probably going to win another one, and you're going to be a part of that. That's crazy.
That's right. That's very right. Very true. It's a lot of pressure to put on a kid, but if that's what the kid wants. If he wants to travel around the country and bounce from school to school, that's his problem. But I like, I admire the kids that keep their word and say, listen, Coach, I've been talking to you for 2 years. You don't have to hard sell me. I'm coming to Alabama. I'm coming to Florida. I'm coming to Syracuse. I'm comfortable with my decision. I'll leave it up to me to make your team a better team. But thank you for the offer. I'm coming to Syracuse or Florida or Alabama, and I'm going to make you proud and make his family proud. And that's good. That's good.
PJ, how do you say no to Nick Saban or Dabo Sweeney? I mean, you think about that. If Dabo comes into your, be it on Zoom or be it, in reality, if Dino comes into your living room, Nick Saban comes into your living room, Dan Mullen comes into your living room, Lane Kiffin comes into your living room, how do you say no to these guys? Can you say no to these guys? The Urban Meyers of the world, there's certain the Brian Kellys of the world. How do you say no? I guess you say no when, if someone's recruited by Clemson and Alabama, you got to say no to one of them. But how do you say no? Like if you and I were sitting in a room and I was getting recruited and we're sitting there and I said, hey, I want you and Mary to be here in the room when they come, and Nick Saban and Dabo Sweeney and Dan Mullen come into my house, how do you say no to these guys? You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about what they have to sell and this, that, and whatever, but how do you say no to these guys and what they're selling? They're all trying to sell the same thing, but how do you say no to a guy like that?
You can't, Daniel. You can't. There's a lot of pressure that goes on in these jobs, and these guys are the best at what they do. There's always stories floating around the state of Florida when it comes to recruiting. To your old ball coach, not Spurrier, but Bobby Bowden. And Bobby Bowden was the typical Southern gentleman who talked a lot of junk, didn't mind talking it to whoever he was talking to or listening from. He could sell ice to the devil. He could do anything. And subsequently, year after year after year, Bobby Bowden would come infiltrating down the state of Florida with his little Florida State car. He'd go into this kid's home, sit down and talk to grandma and the kids. and before you know it, the kid was a Seminole. And he did that every year throughout the recruiting cycle. He went by himself to recruit these kids, and that's how strong he was. If it wasn't for him being that strong, his teams wouldn't have been that good. Because frankly, he wasn't a good X and O guy, but he's a hell of a recruiter. And those kids remember it, and all the FSU kids back then remember it. Now, of course, things are a lot different, and you got a person there right now, Mike Norvell, that's not feeling too good about himself because he's not signing anyone, but he's got to produce, and if they want to pay you $4 or $5 million a year, Mike Norvell, you got to go out and get the players. And right now, he didn't get a bunch of good players. He's got some good players, but he didn't make a killing.
Yeah, we look at this Florida. Speaking on Florida State, Papa Joe joining us from the Sunshine State, and looking this, we look at early signing day. 16 added on the early signing period. Shaheem Brown out of Florida at DB. Josh Burrell, a wide receiver out of South Carolina. Amarion Cooper, DB out of Florida. Bryson Estes out of Georgia, offensive lineman. Jordan Eubanks, a linebacker out of Texas. Josh Farmer, a defensive end out of Florida. Kobe Gross, a tight end out of California. And for those of you that don't know, that there's a Pittsburgh, California. There is, but without a G. Chambray Jackson, a defensive end out of Orlando, Florida. Kevin Knowles, a DB out of Florida. Mackenzie Milton, transferring over from UCF and from Hawaii originally at quarterback. Rod Orr, an offensive lineman out of Alabama. Patrick Payton, a defensive end out of Florida. Byron Turner out of Louisiana, a defensive end. Hunter Washington, a DB out of Texas. Jackson West, a tight end out of Alabama. George Wilson, a defensive end out of Virginia. So, yeah, I mean, we got you got some guys here coming to you from this, and to take a look at it, a bunch of 3-star guys. A bunch of 3 stars. Chambray Jackson is a 4-star, but a bunch of 3-star guys that Mike Norvell is bringing in here. And FSU is used to going after the 5s and the 4s, so it will be interesting to see what he's going to do with this class. But Mike Norvell is trying to build a team right now, and this is where things are at this point, as they've signed on some guys here, but a lot of 3 stars at this point.
Remember what I told you last week, and I'll remind our listeners again. You heard it first from Papa J this year, that in 2 years, Mike Norvell will have a championship team at FSU. I'm not saying he's going to play for a championship team. I'm saying that his teams will be ready to play for championships. He's going to start making a lot of noise in the ACC, and he's going to make a lot of noise internationally and nationally. He's going to make his mark. I feel strongly about this, and I'm hoping that I hope I can enjoy it, except for beating Florida. I don't want him to beat Florida, but I want him. He's a good guy. Let's face it. He's a good guy. Willie Taggart was a good guy. I mean, these were nice guys, but when you put in a position, a powerful position like the head coach at Florida State University, I can't imagine this sapness it takes right out of you. I mean, you're sitting in your office there, and you're trying to put these deals together. You're trying to hustle kids all over the country, and knowing that everyone's looking at you and everyone around you is looking at you, and you got to make these decisions. Now, I'll tell you, it's not easy. And Bobby Bowden did the best job of anyone I can remember. He did the best job of even the old ball coach Steve Spurrier. So, Jameis Winston, you're still alive, my man.
Yeah, and it's good to see that, Jameis Winston, your comment, you always have to squeak him in there somehow, some way. Papa Joe here with us this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with a few more minutes. Championship week, Papa Joe, is upon us. We are in it. We are firmly within it. And our championship week games will be getting played. The confusing thing about it is the fact that some of these championship games are being played with teams that have played 5 games, and other ones are being played with teams that have played multiple games, and so it's 10 games, 11 games. So it's strange. And then on top of all of that, there's these games that are being played that have nothing to do with championship week. They're just makeup games. So some teams are still trying to play the regular season, like Stanford and UCLA. They're playing a regular season game, and trying to make things up. We have Arizona State playing Oregon State, still playing, the Pac-12 still playing in the regular season. And, we have Illinois and Penn State playing a makeup game. We have Minnesota and Wisconsin trying to make up, a game there. We got Ole Miss and LSU trying to play a makeup game. So what are your thoughts on the fact that we are firmly within championship week, and in this very interesting year of coronavirus, during championship week, there's also regular season makeup games going on within the conferences that are playing their championship game. There's teams that didn't make the championship game in that conference still playing a game in the same week.
This is crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, there's got to be you have to lay the law down sometime. Ohio State's going to slip into this championship with 5 or 6 wins, and they're going to play for a national championship when everyone else has played 10 games. It doesn't work that way. But because they're Ohio State and they have a lot of alumni, they're going to squeeze in there.
Yeah.
It's not right. Now, I have to bring up a point that I'm very sad, obviously, because LSU came in to the swamp and beat Florida, and knocked Florida out of the national competition. It was an awful game to watch. It was terrible. Trask was not anywhere close to being sharp, although he passed for 490 million yards or something like that. 4 more quarterback or touchdowns.
Yeah.
And LSU, like they usually do, they always play teams physically, and they pushed the young Gators around a lot. They pushed them around a lot. They brought their own freshman quarterback in, threw for a bunch of yards. So, it's not a secret that the rest of the schools know that Florida is not going to stop anyone this year. And this upset, if you want to call it that, I don't call it an upset. I thought that both teams were equally matched. If anyone was an upset, it would be Florida to win because they can't stop anyone. But it was a terrible game to watch, and the rest of these games are going to fall that way. I think that some of the teams are going to be ready to go, and some aren't. I don't know how you can justify that Ohio State is going to play for the Big Ten championship and have a 6-0 record or 5-1 record or whatever, and can qualify to play for the national championship.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But we're on it. It's exciting still. I'm very disappointed that Florida didn't make a cut. And if you think they look bad against LSU, wait till they look at Alabama's defense this year. I want Trask to do well, of course, and I want Florida to win a game. But this is not a good time to be a Florida Gator when you just lost to LSU and you're going to play Alabama for all the marbles.
Yeah, and if we look at that where we sit right now, like you said, the situation of what it looks like as far as the college football playoff, and we know that they don't rank fairly, and we understand that. We know that they do whatever they want to do. And, like the BCS was corrupt, we look at the corruption of the college football playoff committee that doesn't seem to care about anything but doing it the way they feel like doing it. Alabama is number one. Listen, Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, they deserve to be there. Ohio State does not. They're 5-0. They've played half a season compared to Notre Dame and Alabama and Clemson, who have all played 10 games. It's ridiculous. It's disrespectful to the rest of the country. It's not saying Ohio State isn't good. Listen, Ohio State could be anybody right now that's 5-0. It's not good enough. It's not acceptable, and it's not right. Cincinnati is 8-0. Let me tell you something about Cincinnati, also in the state of Ohio, for those of you that would like geography. Cincinnati was 6th. Cincinnati is undefeated. They have been undefeated. They're 8-0. They dropped a spot in the college football playoff this week. Why? Because they're in the American Athletic Conference. When a team keeps winning, they drop. When other teams didn't play any games, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, they were ranked in the top 25. Michigan went up 4 spots before they even played a game, weeks before they played a game. So the reality of it all is this ranking is BS. It's not true, it's not fair, and it's not an adequate assessment. Texas A&M is sitting at number 5. They should be at 4. Why? Because they played more games than Ohio State, and they've beaten good teams. The only team they lost to, I believe, is Alabama this year. So when you go back and you look at, they lost to Alabama 52-24. They beat everybody else. So when you look at the reality of it all, including Florida, Texas A&M should be above Florida because they beat them head-to-head. Oklahoma has 2 losses. No reason to be in the top 10. Indiana has more right to that at 6-1. Coastal Carolina is 11-0, and they're 12th, and they'll keep them there. USC is 5-0, and they're 13th, above other teams out there like BYU, who's 10-1, who only lost to Liberty. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. The College Football Playoff Committee just wants you to be happy to be there. Be happy you're involved, San Jose State. Be happy you're involved, Colorado. Be happy we included you, Louisiana. Just be proud to be there, Cincinnati. But they're not. And UCF wrote a message to Cincinnati on Twitter saying, now you know how we feel. So the reality of it all is it's disgusting. It's wrong. It's not because I cover the American Athletic Conference. It's because I cover college football. And if you're going to let a team in that's played 5 games, it's BS. And to tell Cincinnati, just be happy to be here, it's disrespectful. To tell Indiana even in the Big Ten that they're not as good or couldn't go toe-to-toe or couldn't hang with Ohio State, because they did hang with Ohio State all the way to the end of the game. So, to me, it's wrong, it's stupid, and at the end of the day, we all started different times, played different schedules, and it's the same 4 teams in the college football playoff. What does that tell you about America? Yes, Alabama deserves to be there. Yes, Clemson deserves to be there. Yes, Notre Dame deserves to be there. But Ohio State, you played 5 games. Go play 5 or 6 more, and then call me.
Yeah, that's true. That's the way to say it. That's true. But, they got a lot of power. And you still got Urban Meyer hanging around over there, too, being a dirtbag, a slime dog. He was, I heard that he was up for the Texas job, and Tom Herman didn't even know that he was getting fired yet. So, but he didn't get the job, and Tom Herman is still coaching, which he should be still coaching. But, you're right. You got, everything you said is correct, but let's hope it comes down together. The Florida game against Alabama is really going to go places. If Alabama wins, even wins by just a few points, they're going to be recognized as the best team in college football this year. That's not going to change.
Right.
Now, if they lose to Florida has 2 losses. That moves Texas A&M, who's got 1 loss, who beat Florida, who lost to Alabama. And where does this leave Texas A&M? You got all these teams that are milling around from 3 to 8. It could possibly be into this. I'm not sure if Texas A&M lost to Alabama or not, but
they did.
I know they lost to someone. I just don't remember who it was.
It was Alabama. It was.
Was it okay? Well, now you see that Jimbo Fisher is doing a hell of a job over there, and he's got an outside shot of getting into this thing. And if Florida can beat Alabama, I can't say decisively, but if Florida can, get 450 yards on them and score a bunch of points and win, that's going to go a long way to what Texas A&M is looking for. And I think that Florida with 2 losses is out of the conversation altogether, unless they absolutely tank them 63-0, which that is not going to happen. Mac Jones looked very comfortable under center. I've watched him for the last 3 weeks. He doesn't have he's not as good right now as Trask is, but he makes better decisions than Trask does. Trask just hasn't been playing the position enough. He's still coming from his roots in Texas, where he was a 2-star athlete. Now come to one of the biggest schools in the country, and he's playing for a national championship. He's finding himself, and he did not have a good game. Mac Jones had a fair game, and these guys are still in the Heisman Trophy conversation, along with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question, PJ. Does a win by Florida over Alabama help Florida more or Texas A&M?
Got to be Texas A&M because Texas A&M beat Florida. So if Texas A&M can beat Florida, and given them one of their two losses, then there's no reason why they should not be brought into the conversation that we're talking about. There's no reason why they should not. Now, someone's going to be axed out of that, and hopefully it'll be at Ohio State. So now you're looking at, you have Clemson has to play Notre Dame again. And I told you last week, there ain't no way in hell that Abel Sweemer is going to lose to Brian Kelly two times in a year. You can take that at bank right now. That ain't going to happen. Now you got Texas A&M going to be thrown in there. It's possible, Daniel, that we could have a Clemson, Alabama. Who are the teams I'm missing? I get so screwed around with these teams.
Clemson, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Ohio State are all the ones that are in right now.
I know that you got Alabama, you got Clemson, you got Notre Dame,
yeah.
And now you're going to try to throw someone else in there, which is Texas A&M, who actually deserves to be there if Florida beats Alabama. That's the thing. But you know what? If they do that, that means there are going to be two SEC teams, and the rest of the country doesn't like that. And if they have to X out one in this formula, it's going to have to be Ohio State.
The reality of it all is Ohio State shouldn't be in it right now. And,
right.
They're trying to appease Ohio State, trying to appease the Big Ten, trying to not hold them, not hold the players and the teams accountable for the fact that the Big Ten waited on their season and whatnot. But the reality of it all is they played half the games. We don't know what Ohio State would be. We're projecting on what we think they could be. In the College Football Playoff Committee, they just don't make sense. They don't. Because Notre Dame goes undefeated and they go, you're in. UCF goes undefeated and they go, your conference isn't strong enough. Well, Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. Yeah, but their schedule is tough. Yeah, but the year that they made it, their schedule wasn't tough. They played, I believe, 2 ranked teams. The only teams they blew out were Florida State, who was terrible, and Syracuse, who Eric Dungy got injured in the game. And then they almost lost to Ball State and Vanderbilt. It wasn't a good year, and they got blown out by Clemson. Here's the thing. If Notre Dame beats Clemson or Clemson beats Notre Dame, guess what? They're both going to be in.
Yep.
So that doesn't change, which is ridiculous. I mean, I agree that they're really good teams and they should be in it, but I'm just saying the championship game for the ACC doesn't have any bearings on what's going to happen in the college football playoff except for seeding 1 through 4. Alabama's going to make it because we know that. And then there's that 4th spot. I think Texas A&M lays the biggest claim to that spot. I also think that Cincinnati has a fight at that claim. I think if it was up to me right now, I would love for there to be 6 to 8 spots, and then we don't have a discussion. But, I mean, you can call it Corona. You could call it whatever you want. You could try to make this about something that it's not. But the reality of it all is, at the end of the day, the college football playoff needs to be expanded to at least 8 teams. And until they do that, it's not going to be fair. Well, Dan, it's not going to be fair then. I know people will always complain, but listen, this is how I look at it. 8 spots. As long as all the conferences are good, right? And they're, ranked high and not like 2-3 losses at the top of it all. The Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC, the SEC, the Pac-12, all of their champions get in. The American Athletic Champion gets in. If Notre Dame goes undefeated and they actually played a tough schedule, they're considered, and then there's one more spot. Then you have a representative from each of the conferences of the Power Six, so to speak, and you let them duke it out against each other. Because the reality of it all is, UCF and Cincinnati, what have they done wrong? Nothing. Clemson played Notre Dame, and Notre Dame looked like trash. Washington played Alabama and looked like trash. Ohio State played Clemson and put up a goose egg. Unless UCF and Cincinnati can score negative points, they can't be any worse than Ohio State, Washington, and Notre Dame have been. So the reality of it all is, let them play. Let them get embarrassed, because guess what? Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Washington got embarrassed. Oklahoma has made it 1,000 times. And they lose every single time. Because they don't play defense. But you let them in to score 50 some odd points and still lose. So the reality to me is, if your conversation is, well, you don't play any defense, UCF, or your scores are too high, that's Oklahoma. You don't have a conference, that's Notre Dame. We don't want you to get blown out. It's already happened a bunch of times. So to me, there are no more excuses. The reality is, the committee does not want to let the American Athletic Conference in because, God forbid, the American Athletic Conference wins a game. Now they have to include them every year, which is going to piss off the SEC and the Big 12 and the Pac-12 and the Big 10 and the ACC. They don't want to do it because they know the repercussions of it. They tried to punish UCF a few years ago with Auburn, and then they beat Auburn, who also beat Georgia and Alabama, who played in the national championship. So if UCF can beat the team that beat the two teams in the national championship, then I would venture to say that they could be competitive with Georgia and Alabama, but they never got to see it. And these teams will never schedule them in the regular season because they don't want to lose. But the team's not that good, so why are you worried about losing to them? It's a you-know-what backward society of the college football playoff. And the reality of it all is, let UCF in, let Cincinnati in when they're good, let the Memphises in, let the Houstons in, and when they kick your ass, and I'm going to say ass today, when they do that, when they beat your booty, then you have to expand the playoff because you have to realize the fact that it is a real thing. There is no sense having the American Athletic Conference in Division 1A football, FBS, if you're going to disrespect them. Coastal Carolina is one of the most phenomenal teams of this season, and they will get disrespected and forgotten. That's unacceptable. It's not right. Yes, Alabama's good. Yes, Clemson's good. Yes, Notre Dame is good. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be there. So anybody that thinks that, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is Cincinnati has done nothing wrong this year, and they'll get punished. Ohio State came to class late and didn't do their homework, and they get to be in. Cincinnati showed up on time, got an A every single month, and has a perfect record of attendance, and you're punishing them. It's not fair. It doesn't make sense. We don't do it in the classroom. We shouldn't do it on the field.
Oh, that's very true. Very true. Very well said. And I know that I know you like to pontificate for the conferences that aren't up there with the big boys. And most of the times you're correct in your analogies, and your teams, the teams that you talk about, generally are very good football teams and can, on some occasions, not most occasions, but some occasions, beat big teams like UCF and Auburn. There's just not many of those games around, Daniel. Now, The best thing that can happen to Coastal Carolina and Cincinnati is they get a good bowl. And they get a good bowl against a Power 5 team that looks like they're killers on papers. And then Coastal Carolina goes out and beats them. That would be great. That would be great. And the same thing goes for Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati, I watched them play one game this year. They flew up and down the field like they were track stars, for crying out loud. They were making all sorts of plays. But it's never been fair until we've at least erased the limit to six teams. 8 probably better, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, we're going to be talking an awful lot about this season. It's going to be an asterisk throughout history. The championship game is going to have an asterisk by it because it wasn't. Suppose Ohio State wins the national championship with a, let's see, what would they have to do? 8-0 team, while the rest of the teams are playing 11 and 12 games. So that means that you got Ohio State with an asterisk that didn't play near as many teams as the other Power 5 teams, and yet they're going to be a national champions. There's going to be a lot to be said about it. The best thing that can happen, unfortunately, I hate to say this because I don't want to see anyone do poorly, but the best thing that can happen is that Ohio State loses. That's all, period. If they lose, then they're out, and then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. But they're playing their championship game. I'm not sure who they're playing. I think they're playing Wisconsin. If they are, my boys up there will have them.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, we look at these championship games going on now, and the Pac-12 they've kind of packed it in. You know what I mean? Like, they have a championship game, but it's like they kind of know they're not going to get included in the college football playoff anymore, or at least right now. So they've kind of, and maybe that's the best thing that can happen to the American, is that the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are going, well, hell, we're not even involved. It's just the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 10. So maybe the Pac-12 and the Big 12 go, hey, American, we think we can beat you. Why don't we form our own little thing? And then the American beats their butt, and then the Pac-12 goes, well, we're just going to jump in the ocean then. But the reality of it all, I mean, that's where we're sitting. This is where we're sitting right now. The SEC is good. You can't have 4 spots when the SEC has Alabama, who's good, Florida, Texas A&M. You can't do it. Georgia, LSU will be better. Auburn has the on-off, the on year, the off year. So, I mean, how are you gonna have a college football playoff in a year where the only time Florida loses is to Alabama? You know what I mean? And let's say Florida has 1 loss, it's to Alabama. Let's say Alabama has 1 loss, it's to LSU. And they're all ranked in the nation. I mean, what are you going to do? So, I mean, they lose to each other. It's not like they're losing to some random bumble whatever team from East Coast, West Carolina, Illinois, Institute of Technology, Pennsylvania. They're losing to each other. So the SEC could be really smart with it and go, you know what? You can have your college football playoff. We're going to have our own of 4 teams, and then we're going to crown our champion, and then it'll play your champion from the college football playoff, and we'll still beat you. They could do that.
You're talking about teams that are recruiting better and playing better. And I do have to tell you now, you heard this last year with Papa J. Lane Train. The Lane Train is coming. Yeah. Lane Train has the 13th highest rated recruiting class so far this year. And he is selling a bunch of high-profile offensive kids his way of playing football. And if you thought this year was fun watching the Lane Train, next year will be a hoot.
Well, and the Lane Train pulling into town at Ole Miss, they got a game this weekend. Like I said, it's championship week, but because of Corona, it is, but it's not. It is, but there's also a lot of other games going on, and still a ton of games that have been canceled. Is Florida State playing? Yay! They're playing! Florida State's supposed to be playing.
Who are they playing?
They're supposed to be playing at Wake Forest, because Lord knows if it was in Tallahassee, they would inject themselves with Corona and go, we can't play. So, but Florida State, we'll see if they actually do play the game. But, PJ, we got to talk about championship week games. Northwestern and Ohio State for the Big Ten. What do you got?
Boy, I'd love to see Northwestern win. They have a great team this year. They get after it. I really like Northwestern. I know Ohio State is the chosen one, but I think that Northwestern can squeak this out.
You know, I picked Ohio State, and I obviously got to stick with my pick, but I would love for Northwestern to win this game, number one, because they don't get the credit they deserve, and I don't think people even recognize that they're in the Big Ten. But if they were to win this game, you have to take Ohio State out, and you would have to put in Cincinnati, Florida, or Texas A&M. So this would make the committee's job really interesting. And so with that being said, I'm picking Ohio State, but I'm hoping for Northwestern. Let's mix it up, baby. So, and I think they can do it. I really do. That'll be at noon Eastern time on Fox this Saturday, December 19th, and I'll be watching it. Next game that we have, yeah, we'll be watching it, PJ. Next one up, this is a very strange one because I don't think people recognize Iowa State in the Big 12 either, but Iowa State is the higher ranked team in the Big 12 championship between Oklahoma and Iowa State. What do you have for Iowa State, Oklahoma?
Well, frankly, athletic-wise, Oklahoma should probably be the better team. They have an excellent freshman quarterback now who I think is Spencer Rattler, I think is his name, and he's supposed to be coming in and going to be the new breed of Oklahoma quarterback that's going to set all these kind of records. I just don't think that this game is going to amount to much. I know Iowa State is a good team. I don't follow them that well at all, and I do follow Oklahoma, and I do like Oklahoma in this game.
Yeah, even though Oklahoma is the lower-ranked team, I have Oklahoma in this matchup. You know what's funny? is that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State keep getting ranked in the nation's top 25, even though they don't play that great. So
Yeah.
I just want to make mention of that again to the committee, as if I haven't said enough, that they don't tell the truth about anything ever, no matter what, because they have their favorites, and that's it. So the Sun Belt Championship, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns are 9-1. I love it because I feel like that should be the name of like the seasoning I put on my food. But the Ragin' Cajuns are playing each other, and it's funny because we have a Ragin' Cajun at LSU as well in Louisiana at Ogeron. But the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns playing Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is 11-0. They're ranked 12th in the nation, and I'm hoping that they kick some tail this weekend. What do you got?
Well, I think that the Raging Cajuns can score an awful lot of points in a hurry. And I don't think that Coastal Carolina wants to get in a scoring contest with these guys. I think Coastal Carolina should win. I will pick them, but I wouldn't be surprised that if Louisiana puts up a good showing and scores a hell of a lot of points.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Coastal Carolina in this one, too. Louisiana has been ranked in the nation's top 25 more than once this season. They're currently ranked in the nation's top 25, but Coastal Carolina is on another level. They handed BYU their only loss of the season, so I'm going with Coastal Carolina. You know, BYU is supposed to be a threat, and they answered. They were supposed to play Liberty, but Liberty couldn't do it due to Corona and whatnot, so they played BYU instead, and BYU took an L because of that. So Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt, I'm choosing them. I know that this isn't a championship game, but I got to ask you it because it's Lane Train versus Coach O. Ole Miss at LSU. What do you got for this one?
Oh, boy, the sideline banter would really be good, that, boy. I would love to watch the antics of these two guys. I tell you, Coach O, he showed me something this last weekend. I wasn't actually looking for LSU to lay down and to lay an egg, against Florida. They just happened to hit early and hit right, and before you know it, it was 14-3, and then Florida gets behind again, and and Trask is throwing the ball all over the place, and
yeah,
I think Coach O played his best game last week. He's not going to beat the Lane Train.
All right, you got the Lane Train going in this one, PJ. Just because this is a tough one for me to pick, but I know that LSU's had a tough season. Now, mind you, and let me remind you, that LSU has self-sanctioned themselves due to the NCAA investigation that they will not play in a bowl game this year. They have 4 wins!
You can't win with 4 wins.
They have 4 wins! That's like me saying I'm not going to buy a Maserati this year. I don't have the money! Like, it's ridiculous. So, but LSU's saying they're not going to do it, and that's fine. I mean, I guess that counts for nothing. But if they, I'll tell you one thing. If they were undefeated and vying for a national championship, they wouldn't have self-sanctioned this year, and the NCAA would have accepted that because that's the NCAA. So I'm going to go with the Lane Train as well. I think LSU can do it, but I'm going to go with the Lane Train if for nothing else because I want you to send me a picture or a video of you cheersing me with the cup of coffee, with the mug that I got you for the Lane Train.
I can do that.
I want to see that. Next one we got up here is the ACC. Wait a minute. ACC. Wait a minute. The ACC championship. Notre Dame's included. They get to play in a championship game for the first time ever in a conference because they've been alone forever and a day, making a ton of money, hand over fist. And here's the crazy thing about it, Notre Dame. I wonder how NBC feels right now. They got that deal with Notre Dame, and it's not on NBC. The ACC championship is on ABC because they have their connection with ESPN and the affiliates. So Notre Dame might have to pay some money out to NBC and keep them quiet. But they'll be on ABC playing Clemson. They are the higher seed, and Clemson and Notre Dame will play for the second time. And no matter what happens in this game, most likely, potentially the third time in the college football playoff this season. What do you have now that Trevor Lawrence will play Ian Book? And I won't make you say the name of the backup from Clemson, but when they went there last time, Notre Dame charged the field. Now, mind you, Notre Dame had one of the biggest coronavirus issues when their student body came back to campus. Then that same student, or whatever it may be, they rushed the field, went bananas. I thought that this was something you don't do. Listen, they're closing down restaurants and telling restaurants to go to 25% capacity, here, there, and everywhere. The restaurants and the bars here in central New York have had to follow all these rules. And then in South Bend, Indiana, you can have 10,000 people rush the field. Does that make sense, Andrew Cuomo? The answer would be ding, 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 no. So, Clemson's playing Notre Dame, but this time Trevor Lawrence, that long-haired debonair, is coming out and playing Ian Book. What do you have for this one?
I told you the last 2 weeks that Notre Dame will not beat Clemson again. So, just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Clemson in this matchup as well, because the look on Trevor Lawrence's face when he was standing on the field with a mask on, as people were running by him, hitting him, and jumping up on each other, no social distancing, not everybody wearing a mask, and he's sitting here going, I've had to be out for 2 weeks, and then all these people get to rush the field and potentially infect us all again? Well, that's fantastic. So he will be back on the field, and he'll be there for this game. Trevor Lawrence, what I like to call him, is the prettiest Hanson sister. He'll be going out there doing his thing, making it happen this time around. I got Clemson in this one. Final matchup here that we're going to talk about here. Oh, actually, there's two. Let's go with Tulsa and Cincinnati. I told you Tulsa under Philip Montgomery has had 2-win season, 3-win, 4-win type seasons, yet he's in so many games. He's pushed so many teams. Last season, the year before, he's pushing the ranked Houstons. He's pushing the ranked Navies. He's pushing the ranked UCFs. He's pushing the ranked Cincinnatis. He's pushing the ranked Memphises, but they just weren't completing it. But he was really close to going from a 4-win to a 7-win, a 4-win to an 8-win. Well, this time around, Tulsa got it done. They completed the games. They've been ranked in the nation's top 25 for the last few weeks here. They're 6-1. They only lost to Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State was ranked in the top 11 at the time, and they lost 16-7 in a very close game that Oklahoma State had to muster up a lot just to get out of. They defeated a ranked SMU. They've defeated Navy. They've defeated Tulane, who's a good team. They defeated USF. They defeated a ranked UCF at the time, and they defeated East Carolina. Now they will play Cincinnati, who is undefeated, at 8-0. Tulsa and Cincinnati are both undefeated in the American Athletic Conference this season. Who's going to win this game?
Well, I've been trying to get close to Cincinnati for a couple of weeks because I know they have a good offense and they like to move the ball up and down the field quickly. I think they have enough firepower to pull this off, so I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm going with Cincinnati. However, I do expect Tulsa to make this a game. So, I do expect them to make this an interesting game, and I hope it comes down to the wire. And if I know anything about my American Athletic Championship games, which I should because I've been to the last 3 of them, is that no matter who is winning, who is leading, what's going on, this game always comes down to the wire, and at the end is very, very close, and anybody can do it. I love being in Memphis at the Liberty Bowl, love being at the Bounce House at Spectrum Stadium in Orlando with UCF, and I'm happy that Cincinnati gets to host this one, and I'm really happy for Tulsa, Oklahoma getting represented finally in their first American Athletic Championship game. Alabama and Florida playing up against each other. Slam Jamabama going up against Dan Mullen and the crew. This game is going to be at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I've been there. The Mercedes-Benz Stadium out in Atlanta, Georgia. A fantastic place to go, the home of the Falcons. So Alabama, Florida, what do you got, PJ?
Well, you know where my heart lies, that's for sure. These guys have faced each other across the field several times. Back when Mullen was with Florida, when he was the offensive coordinator, and of course Saban he's the guru of all coaches. I mean, he's simply the best. I mean, I do have to give Dan Mullen a lot of credit. I mean, the last couple of years he's tried to piecemeal a team together that he can be competitive with.
Yeah.
And until he gets into his recruiting cycle. Now, this year is the 3rd top 10 team that he's had in the top 10 for recruiting. Now, that goes a long way with trying to beat Alabama. I don't think that they have enough talent this year. even though Trask is probably going to throw all over the place. There's something different about playing in Alabama when you look at their defensive side of the ball. I mean, these guys are mean. They're tough. They don't move out of the way very quickly. And Trask, is not the most nimble of quarterbacks. He's not very athletic, so if he doesn't get rid of that ball in 4 or 5 seconds, he's going to get killed. I just don't think that Florida has enough to stay with him. I mean, it could be a 42-35 game or something like that.
Yeah.
But Florida's defense has no business being on the field with these guys.
Yeah, I got Alabama in this one as well to win this game. If Florida was somehow able to pull it off, it would make things very interesting in the college football playoff. So all I'm saying to the teams out there to make the college football playoff stay somewhat honest, like they ever will, is that Northwestern and Florida got to pull off that dub. But if Northwestern gets a win, it will at least open the door to Texas A&M and Cincinnati as long as Cincinnati wins as well. So let's go. Let's get it done. Let's have some fun with it, show you how it's done. Very excited for it. I don't want to miss out on the Mountain West Championship, PJ. Boise State going up against San Jose State. What do you have for this? The Mountain West has had a very tough season as far as teams just being able to field themselves to be able to play. So Boise State and San Jose State. Boise State is not ranked. San Jose State is ranked in the top 24. What do you got?
I like Boise State in this game, period.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Boise State in this one as well. Boise State playing off. They're going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. They will not be playing on the Smurf turf, which is sad. But I'm going to go with Boise State in this matchup. They have been the kings of the Mountain West for a long time. I'm happy San Jose State got there. And at the same time, it kind of almost feels like one of those teams that gets into the March Madness that you don't expect to be there that could be an upset team when it comes to basketball when you see a team like San Jose State. But I got to go with Boise, and PJ's going Boise, so that's where we're going to sit at this time around. Papa Joe, as always, I appreciate you. I know you spent almost a couple hours here with us today, so I thank you so much for that. We got Dino Babers Q&A, as well as Jim Boeheim, Joe Girard III, and Quincy Guerrier coming up next. But not before I tell you, Papa Joe, that I am ecstatic that you are here. I love you very much so, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Thanks a lot, bud. See you later.
Take care. That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora this morning, where sports truly meets life. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we get back into things, we will go to those Q&As that I have promised you in the second hour of the show, featuring Dino Baber speaking with me on National Signing Day, as well as his thoughts on Josh Huff coming into the program as a big back, and as I'm hoping that Syracuse will be running the ball more. So we'll talk with him about that, and then we'll talk with Jim Boeheim, Joe Girard III, as well as Quincy Guerrier, coming off of a win that they squeaked through 62-56 over a Northeastern team that just wouldn't go away this week here in the Dome. That's all coming up right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter right around the corner.